My name is Rondell Antoine, and this is my interpersonal communication project for HSCO 508, Liberty University. This presentation is a compilation of all the information we would have learned for interpersonal communications class HSCO 508 for the last 8 weeks. Next slide. Throughout the presentation, we would have the definition of interpersonal communication. I will identify my overarching goals. There will be a description of my background and behavioral blend and how they have influenced my communication styles, both positively and negatively. I will be identifying communication barriers, resources and strategies that can be implemented in overcoming the barriers will be identified. There will also be my plan of action and a conclusion. Next slide. Stewart defines interpersonal communication as the kind of communication that happens when people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. Next slide. Overarching goals. Attention to detail. My overarching goal is to improve my listening skills to become a level 1 listener. Level 1 listening is emphatic listening. At this level, the listener refrains from judging the talker and places themselves in the other person's position, attempting to see things from his or her point of view. Other characteristics of level 1 listening includes being aware and in present moments. When you're in conversation with someone, you need to be there. You need to see them. You need to hear what they're saying and not just merely being there or hearing. You have to be able to listen what is being said. Paying attention to the speaker's total communication, their body language, their tone, their eye contact. These are all examples of how important listening can be. Being empathetic to the speaker's feelings and thoughts. You can, say, express your sorrow for that individual. You can say, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that you'll be fine. These are all characteristics that helps with listening. The listener should show verbal and non-verbal to indicate that he or she is truly listening. So you might, want to give a little tap on the shoulder when you're listening to what is being said. Effective listening enlarges the conversation. Once we have an understanding of our own personal communication style, in order to enhance the positives and improve on the negatives, with the goal of deepening the conversation between people. Both persons or both parties, the talker and the listener, is acknowledged, they're heard, and they're respected. Ultimately, we are empowered after the conversation, and it enlarges the conversation. Next slide. Background. I was born and raised in Grenada, West Indies. I grew up in a single-parent household. I was educated in a British-style system, my elementary, primary, and high school education. A former police officer. I am the first in my family to be college educated. I am a mother of 3 boys and a wonderful husband. I possess a Bachelor of Criminal Justice from SUNY Empire State College, and I am currently pursuing a Master's in Human Service Counseling, the Criminal Justice Cognate with Liberty University. Behavioral blend. The behavioral blend is a compilation of 4 different types of temperaments and referred to as the DISC model behavior. The D stands for active or task-oriented. The I is active or people-oriented. The S is passive or people-oriented. And the C is passive or task-oriented. The characteristics of the 4 temperaments. The D is dominating, is directing, is demanding. The I can be inspiring, influencing, impressing, interactive, or you're interested in people. S is steady, stable, shy, security-oriented. And the C is cautious, competent, calculating, compliant, contemplative. When I completed the Uniquely You assessment, for my behavioral blend, what was expected of me was the ID person, the inspiring, the directing, the impressing, the decisive person. But what I did find out after the assessment is that I was a DIC. I was a dominant, inspiring, cautious individual. Next slide. The positive behavioral blend influence I possess are influencing others through verbal skills. I am inspiring and cautious. I am very sociable, and I am a very good in articulation, according to Carbonell. The negative behavioral blend influence, lacking compassion, lacking accountability, anger issues, abusive authority. And I must agree that I'm aware of those issues, and especially lacking compassion. I seem to at times, take actions and determine that it is me and it's all about me without care for who may feel what. And these are things that I am destined to work on. Next slide. Communication barriers. According to Bertie Arlen, a listening barrier exists when someone hears what he wants to hear, not what is said. The most significant communication barrier I have discovered is perception, reception, attention. And going forward, we have to understand that both the talker and the listener have power in communication. We need both of them for communication to happen. Perception is critical. However, we view the person and the situation and the subject. So when we listen to someone, we don't go listening to looking at the person and trying to say look at him and make judgments. We listen. We don't judge the situation. We don't judge the subject. In reception, this is how we influence and the attention that we pay. We need to listen. If we find at times that they're not saying what we want to say, we tend to become distracted. But it's important that we be receptive to the person. Positivity, reluctance to speak up for fear of disagreements and improper self-disclosure are all critical barriers. Resources and strategies that can be implemented in overcoming the barriers are: take the initiative, resist external implement the talker listener card, and include the techniques listed by Peterson throughout our text. And we have to really understand that overcoming communication barriers is critical to healthy interpersonal communication. Next slide. Resources and strategies. We can make meaningful notes. We can take initiative. We can resist external distractions. We can implement the talker listener card. This is where we exchange this card where I talk. When I talk, I hold the talker card. When you talk, you hold when I talk, you hold the talker. I hold the talker card and you hold the listener card, and we do it interchangeably. And we include techniques. Peterson listed throughout the text. We need to have an open mind in communication when we listen. We need to analyze what is being said. We need to clarify and ask questions. Did you say that? Am I hearing that? Is that what you meant? We must evaluate and be critical, not to the speaker's delivery though. And we must have a desire to communicate and a willingness to adapt, as well as communication needs. Next slide. The plan of action. We have to create an environment of self-awareness. We have to listen patiently and emphatically. We have to listen without advising. Listen and use Dr. Peterson's technique cards. In conclusion, Stewart noted that there is a direct link between the quality of your communication and the quality of your life. I agree. The manner in which we communicate impacts our lives. We create impressions by the things we say and do, and it is important at all times to present an unsullied life. Thank you. This has been my presentation for Intercommunication Project HSCO 508. Thank you.